Did you know that St. Louis has some of the highest yields in the Midwest? A lot of potential investors want to invest in the area, but they are kind of overwhelmed with the potential complexities, what problems might come up. How is the process really like? In this video, I am going to discuss some considerations you need to think about before going into the St. Louis market. You need to consider area, neighborhood, price point, property condition, financing, and much more. I have bought and rented many properties in St. Louis over the years. I currently own over 35 doors in St. Louis and have been investing for over 13 years. I'm going to go over the typical process as far as buying, renting, and managing rental properties in St. Louis, so you don't get surprised by anything and have the right expectations. Hi, I'm Ben, your St. Louis real estate ninja. I'm a licensed agent and investor in the St. Louis area. I'm here to help you with your real estate needs. If you are looking to buy rental properties, houses, investments, or just have any questions about the St. Louis area, feel free to email me, text me, call me. I'm here to help you out and discuss it. I love talking to you about St. Louis, your real estate needs, your goals, and helping you win in this market. Other than that, let's get to it. Many potential investors get overwhelmed at first with the complexities that go into purchasing rental properties, especially in a competitive market like St. Louis. There's a lot to consider, so sometimes you get bogged down and paralysis by analysis and overwhelmed with all the options that go on. But the truth is, buying rental properties is a good way to build wealth and generate passive income. It is a relatively straightforward process, and you might have heard some of these things before. It's not rocket science, but as someone with experience, I want to maybe give you a heads up on some of the things that might come up and issues to be expectant of so you don't get overwhelmed and jump ship. Most beginners, me included, buy the cheapest properties possible, but usually those are in bad neighborhoods and they come with more problems. Quick story, my second rental property in St. Louis, we used our wedding money to buy this property for $45,000. It was in a D-class neighborhood, high crime, bad neighborhood. The house was actually a newer build where they built this street with all new houses, new construction to hopefully bring in a better quality of homeowner and tenant. And we bought that property that was about 10 years old at that time. And for $45,000, we thought we got a great deal. And we ended up renting that property for $800 a month. That's a good return on investment, but the tenant quality was not that great. We had to worry about break-ins. We got vandalized a couple of times. There was no appreciation. It was a food desert. It's not very desirable. This area did not have a good school district. There was just a lot of negatives about the property, but we did not know any better at the time. So we rented out the property for $800 a month for 12 years. So on paper, we did make more than double our money back gross compared to the price. So that was really good. But when we sold the property, I actually sold it at $2,000 less than what I bought it for 12 years later. So the value had went down and the property still needed a lot of work at that point. So I just ended up selling it as is to an investor. They fixed it up, rents got a little bit higher and they're renting it out. And it's still a good cash flow property, numbers make sense. But overall, I would not do that again. I wouldn't buy that property again in that type of neighborhood. And I am looking for properties that appreciate a little bit over the years and have a better quality of tenant and a solid school district. If you're looking at a property in St. Louis in that $70,000 range, it's usually going to be in a bad D-class neighborhood. So I encourage you to look for properties that are a little bit higher in the $100,000 range. That will be a more C to B class type of neighborhood. And you could still make the 1% rule a lot of times, still good cash flow, but better appreciation, better neighborhoods, safer areas. Don't just look at the cheapest property possible. Some other issues with lower class neighborhoods are higher vacancy rates, eviction rates, crime, vandalism. Over the years, you might be dealing with more headaches, more fix-ups, more problems. And when you have those problems, a lot of times the appreciation won't be there, and you actually end up cutting into your profits and your cash flow a lot, dealing with a lot of these issues. You want to get that solid C+, B- neighborhood, even if it costs a little bit more than just going with the cheapest price in a D-class neighborhood. Another thing to look for is property condition. So you want properties that are close to rent ready. So anything that's like a gut rehab or a huge rehab that's over $30,000, a lot of times that's going to take longer than you think. It is going to maybe cost more than you think. The good thing about rental properties in St. Louis, though, they are smaller. The average house that I buy is in that 800 to 1200 square foot. So they're not these big, 2000 square foot homes. So they are smaller to rehab and usually cheaper overall than a big house. As buy and hold investors, the sweet spot that I see is that 10, 15 grand rehab in St. Louis. That's a good sweet spot where you can fix it up fast enough and not wait months and months and months, but you still add that value. So let's just say you bought a property for 100,000 and it needs 10,000. So you're into it for 110,000. And then at that point, it might be worth like 125,000. So you have a little bit of equity because you're building that equity. But if you bought something that needed 40,000 of rehab, it's going to be a lot of headaches. You might not know how to do it. If you are handy and good at construction, that's great. But overall, it's just a lot more headache. It takes longer, a lot of moving parts, contractors, all that stuff. But if you are good at that, you're building more value. Usually the bigger the rehab, the more equity that you're building because you're putting in that sweat equity. But for a buy and hold investor that wants it to be smooth and efficient, just 5, 10 grand rehabs, those are usually the sweet spot to get your property up and running and rented quickly. You also want to take a look at the town and municipality that you are getting into. St. Louis has over 80 municipalities in the county, so every one is different and has different cultures and regulations. Similar in some ways, but different in a lot of ways. So there are certain jurisdictions that don't allow rental properties, or they only allow a certain percentage of rental properties. So this is a funny story where I was in Delwood. So I bought a property in Delwood. My property manager had managed this property for 3 years. So I just bought it off of her client, not on the market, just like a direct sell. And right when I bought the property, Delwood said they changed the regulations and now we don't allow rental properties. So I just bought the property. It was rented out for 3 years and now you can't rent it no more. So I'm like, what? I can't do anything. I can't rent it. So what's the value? Basically, I had to put it on the market right away and then just resell it. And that was a hassle. I had to fix some stuff up and list it again. And it was a whole ordeal with that. So know some of the regulations, which towns are more rental friendly, which towns are looking to put more regulations and less rental properties in their towns. You need to familiarize yourself with some of those codes and some of those inspectors that are like more nitpicky and try to get you for everything, or ones that are more lax. So usually in St. Louis City, the inspection standards are a little bit easier to get past than some of these small municipalities in St. Louis County. So when you start looking for a rental property, you want to first identify the area that you want to go in. And once again, we want to be in a good solid neighborhood, not a war zone. So once you know the area or the radius or the zip code that you want to be in, you start looking for properties. That means looking at your listings, looking at pictures, prices, and seeing what makes sense to go look at. A lot of my clients are out-of-state investors. So what I'll do is I'll just go there and preview the property. I'll give them a video tour of the property. I will point out what things that I think might be an issue for inspection or fix-ups or repairs. I will estimate what the rents are. I will get an idea of the street or the neighborhood and give my boots on the ground feedback for that. If the property I think is worth pursuing, then we will talk and we will say, hey, this is what we want to offer. What's the deal going to be? You want to be quick to sign and quick to submit your offer. A lot of times the first offer wins for rental properties. So if it's like a nice home with a big home that everybody wants, usually it's like the most money for rental properties. Usually the first offer will win if it's a solid offer, not if you're lowballing $20,000. Be sure to have all your ducks in a row and ready to submit the offer. When you submit the offer, sometimes they come back with a counter offer, and then usually we come back with another counter, and then we seal the deal at that point. So for example, let's just say the property is worth $120,000 as a listing price. I offer 110. They say, no, 105. And then we say, okay, 105. So you saved $5,000 there, you lock up the property. If you do an as-is offer, that's a lot more stronger than not. Because an as-is, the seller doesn't have to fix anything. They don't have to put any more money into it. So they like that offer instead of the other way around, where you make an offer and you say, hey, we'll give you this price, but you have to pass inspection, you have to fix this, this, and this, and then we're okay to go. So a lot of times if the house I feel is in pretty good condition and there might be a few $1,000s worth of fix-ups, we'll take that risk. We'll just say as is, and we've beaten a lot of offers that way. Before making an offer though, you definitely want to have your financing in order. So you want to have a pre-approval letter, you want to have your down payment ready, you want to know that you can close. You're not going to make an offer without knowing that you can close the property with your financing and your lender and they're on board. If you have cash, no need for all that, but before you make an offer, have your financing pre-approval letter ready to go. So let's just say that you made an offer and it is not as is. So what you would do at that point is you'll get a home inspection, usually within 7 to 10 days. That will be a clause in the contract. So usually it's 10 days. You have 10 days to get a home inspector in there, search everything, give you a report about what things might need to be fixed up, what might be deferred maintenance, and it'll be a whole detailed report. The average home inspection report in St. Louis, in my experience, is $400 to $500. And usually they get out there within a couple of days and give you that report the next day. After we get the report, we go over it together. We discuss what we want to ask the seller to fix. If it's a major hazard, then definitely we will ask them to do that. If it's really, really minor, a lot of times I don't want to bog them down with 30 things to do for a property. If it's a dream home or something, a lot of times you do want most things, but you go over it on a one-to-one basis. So within that inspection period, we are sending that list back to the sellers. We are sending them the home inspection report as well. And then we tell them, hey, we request that you fix these items. I make a video and I send it to the listing agent. So I go over every item and I'll say, this is why the seller wants this. You know, they're concerned about this. Can you please do that? I know it's minor, but it goes a long way. So just me explaining that to them is better, I feel, than just sending them a list. And then they'd be like, man, these guys, they want us to fix everything. But I just explain to them why. And a lot of times they agree. If they don't agree on a few things, they might say, you know, we'll fix most of these things, but these things, yeah, I don't want to fix them. Or they might just give you some money, a credit on the closing statement. For example, let's just say I wanted 2 new doors and they didn't want to do that. They might just say, hey, you know, we'll just credit you $1,000 and you can just do that after we close. And then it'll be on me to get those doors, but they credit us that money to get those doors later. So that happens a lot too. But in this case, let's just say that they agree to it and then they are on the clock to fix all those items up before we close. So now the seller is in agreement to fix all those repairs. But in my experience, that usually takes longer and sometimes not on time as you expect. So a lot of times, you know, you have to do it by the closing date and they've only finished half of the things and their contractor is behind and can't get a hold of them or something like that. A lot of times, since I am in the property management game, landlord game, I will also use my people and have them help with everything. I have done that quite a few times where I'll say, hey, if you're backed up, you can use my handyman, my property manager, and maybe we can tag team and help you knock some of these things out. It keeps our guys busy. We get to know the property better. Most of the times we're gonna manage the property as well. So just all those three things, we get to know the property a lot better and fix it to our standards. And then what I will do is have the seller bill my handyman. Since I know those handyman, I feel more confident that it's gonna get done quicker and at a reasonable price. If it's another handyman that I don't know, then who knows? It's more work and oversight on my part, but I'm willing to do that just to give the seller an easier time and the buyer more peace of mind as well. And if you are not buying as is, that means they are usually passing occupancy inspection as well. So the city inspector will come out, check everything, make sure that you are up to code, and then say, okay, you are ready to rent. But if you're buying it as is, you're taking a little bit more risks and you're fixing up everything yourself. And then you are getting that occupancy inspection done after closing. And sometimes they find a few more couple things to do, a little bit more money, a little bit more repairs to get that thing fixed and ready to rent. I just want you to be aware, it's very nice when you buy the property and it's ready to get rented. If it's the other way around and the occupancy is not ready, you want to have it at a little bit lower price, so it's worth putting in the few $1,000s, getting it ready and getting it up to occupancy inspection, and then you have a little bit more of a discount there, so it's more worth that risk. Okay, now we are past occupancy, and that means we are ready to rent. When renting, how do you market? How do you screen tenants? How do you find the right person to move into the place? When you have bad tenants, real estate can be such a headache, but when you have great tenants, real estate investing can be a beautiful thing. So it is very important that you have very, very good tenant screening, because this will give you a higher likely probability of success. Trust me, I've been through a lot of evictions over the years, late tenants. It's hard. It's very, very hard on your mental health. So now I have a system where I pre-screen the tenants, try to be more efficient with my screening. And over the years, there's been a lot less evictions, more better tenants. First of all, you want your pictures to be as good as possible. You don't have to get professional pictures that cost hundreds of dollars like a listing photo to sell. Rental properties are usually more in affordable areas. They don't have to be tip-top, staged. You want to be decent with your cell phone camera, good lighting, good positioning. A lot of people just kind of snap whatever and it looks dark and dreary, and that just comes off as a bad first impression, and that might increase the chances of a bad tenant because they're just like, whatever, I don't care. So presenting it clean, good pictures, those go a long way at first to have a good tenant reach out to you. Once you have your pictures and all your description and listing information, it usually goes in a software and it usually distributes it to a bunch of different websites like Zillow, apartments.com, homes.com. There's tons of them, and my software goes out to about 40 different places. So I get a lot of leads all the time just because I use one software and it distributes it everywhere. If you're just going on to Zillow and trying to post over there and posting on Facebook and then posting on this, and it's way too much, and you are going to be overwhelmed, and it's only going to go to one or two places. You want to distribute out as far as you can. A sign in the yard helps out a lot too, because people are in that neighborhood looking and will call you up. I also get a lot of referrals. So a lot of times when you are working on properties and they see you in there fixing up stuff, people will knock on the door, neighbors will say, who's your landlord's number? And then you just get calls out of the blue. But overall, if it is priced right, if it's in a rental affordable price range, you usually don't have much problem getting leads. But getting leads is where the good screening comes into place. And you're gonna get a lot of leads and a lot of stories. And here are some tips on how to find the best tenants possible. So every day, a list of tenants that requested some information will come into me in my email, and I text them. Calling, email, for the most part, is usually less effective than just texting them. So I text them and I say, hey, it's me from so-and-so house. Are you still interested? Once they text back, I have a video that I text them. And not a lot of people do this. They just kind of get them on the phone and try to talk to them and see their situation. But I text them a video and I'll say, hey, check out this video. It gives you an idea of the layout. Let me know what you think. They check it out, they like it, they say it's too small, whatever. But usually they say, okay, I really like it. And then I'll text them the requirements. No criminal or eviction history, minimum 600 credit score. Your income take home has to be 3 times the rent. So if the rent is $1,000, then you have to take home $3,000. That's just overall in a nutshell, but those few things will weed out a lot of people, especially that credit score. A lot of times I'll say no pets as well, and that will eliminate a lot of the people. Even though the listing says it, a lot of people will not read that, so then you just kind of have to reiterate that. Most of the time at that point, they'll say, when can I view it? And if you're just going around viewing properties to potential tenants all the time, you're going to be wasting a lot of time. So one thing I like to do is get them on the phone, have a small discussion with them, and just say, hey, can we talk first? Or I also have a software that say, can you fill out some information real fast? Like, your work and how long you've been at this other address. A few things like that. If you get them to jump through those few hoops, you're going to save a bunch of time. But I'll talk to them and I'll kind of get an idea of their situation. Why are you moving? At that point, I'll just say, hey, if you like the property, if I show you the property, are you willing to put the deposit right then and there to reserve the property? Or if you're Section 8, give me the paperwork to get rolling. I like doing that because sometimes the person will say, I won't have the deposit until 2 weeks for my next paycheck. And then I'll just be like, okay, whenever you're ready for that, then I'll meet you at the property if you're ready. Because a lot of times they just kind of take a look at the property, they don't have the money, next month they'll have it, and you're just wasting a bunch of time. So if they don't have the money right there to reserve the property, then don't take a look at the property, wait till they have the money and ready to take action before you show the property. After we pre-screen them and set up the expectations, hopefully when you show the property and they like it, then they'll reserve the property right there. Whether that's a cash or Cash App or Venmo or something of that nature, reserve the property. Once they reserve the property, you don't show it to anybody else, and then you go through the background check, right? Where they pay $30 to $40, they do a background check, you make sure there's no evictions, the report comes back right, you have their pay stubs and verify their work and landlord history, and usually that will come back clean because they'll let you know up front if they qualify or not, because you told them the expectations. So that's another part of being efficient and saving time. But let's just say everything comes back clean before they move in. You definitely want to have them put the electricity and gas and so on into their name before they move in. If you are Section 8, Section 8 has to do a Section 8 inspection to make sure that their code is up to par, and that paperwork sometimes takes a little bit longer. I'm more than willing to do that because Section 8 is a great program. They pay the rent. There's a caseworker you talk to if any issues arise. So just know that you have to have a second inspection with Section 8. So now it is move-in time. Once they sign the lease, pay first month's rent, then it is time to move in. I like to go over the main points of the lease with them. Like if you clog the toilet, that repair is on you, like no subleasing, and just, some of the main points. You don't have to go over every single thing, but I feel like it's very valuable to go over it just to set an idea. Remember, no pets. A lot of times people after the fact will move in pets or move in a boyfriend, something like that. So you want to go over that up front and just kind of let them know, like, we're serious about this, you know, like it's in the lease. Now your property is up and running, the tenant is in there. In their mind, it's like their new place, their new fresh start. So that is really, really nice. Of course, there's always a risk down the road. There might be some financial issues, but since you did all the background check and you did all the pre-screening, it's usually a lot less likely that they're gonna have trouble. A lot of times when you first move into, there'll be a few maintenance requests because, you know, after a few days, they'll be like, oh yeah, I noticed this little thing and I noticed this little thing. And you always want to start off on the right foot. So I'll just be like, yeah, we'll do it, man. We'll come in there. We want you to get you off to the right start. We'll fix this light fixture or whatever it is. You want to be communicative with tenants, but not as communicative as you would with your spouse or kids. So when a request comes in, you don't want to respond within the next 5 minutes. You want to respond within that day and just let them know that you heard them, you're listening to them. So what I will do then is kind of schedule a maintenance request during the week. I'll ask them to send me pictures, right? So I don't have to go out there. But if I do have to go out there, I'll try to go out there within the next couple of days, assess the situation, and then if I can fix it, great. If not, then I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to schedule so-and-so to come in. I'll talk to him, try to schedule something. And if you just do that, then they are really appreciative because they know that you're not just letting things sit. In my experience, I see a lot of people that, yeah, they can't get a hold of their property managers. It takes them weeks to come out and fix things, sometimes even months. And, you know, the tenant doesn't really enjoy that. So, you know, I just want to listen to them, communicate with them. Even if it's going to take a week or two to fix, we're responding to them, being communicative. That is a good tenant-landlord relationship. So there's the process in a nutshell: buying, negotiating, repairing, renting it out, and then repeating it again so you can build wealth with St. Louis rental properties. Me and my team can help you with that process. I'm a licensed agent that can help you buy and negotiate properties. We have handymen that can help you fix and repair items, property management to deal with the tenants, and maintenance requests. If you are interested in buying rental properties or any of those services, that's what I'm here for. If you want to discuss more about St. Louis real estate, feel free to text, email, or call me. I would love to talk to you about rental properties and real estate in St. Louis and help you accomplish your goals. I also have this video right here. It goes into more about rental properties in St. Louis and other factors you got to think about. I hope it gives you some value as well as you are deciding whether to invest in St. Louis or not. But other than that, I'll see you on the next one.